5. This summer, Tindra wanted to fall in love for the first time. After a night of drinking, she threw in some mortillidine and lay down in the rising sun. Completely exhausted, she slept the whole day through. Strongly dazed, she woke up at dusk. Something had torn her out of her dreams, and she started her way home along the riverbank. A fairy appeared before her. "Hello, Tindra, I am I." Tindra closed her eyes. "I know that you want to fall in love." Tindra opened her eyes again. "You have 7 wishes free." The fairy was still there. "For the 7 wishes, I'll find you 7 matches." She wonders what a match is. A match is an allocation, assignment, link, based on your wishes. After last night, Tindra didn't even know herself anymore what or better whom exactly she wished for. Don't worry, we'll find that out together. The fairy could read her thoughts. With me, you can look at any of your wishes and be matched 7 times. First match. Tindra suddenly made a wish. She wished to simply meet someone. In front of her, the first wish opened up. The fairy gently guided Tindra's hand towards the wish, and from that moment on, never let it out of sight again. If you swipe to the left, the fantasy falls out of your world. Tindra swiped to the left, and the fantasy disappeared. Behind it, the next one opened up. If you swipe to the right, the fantasy remains in your world. Tindra swiped to the right. She liked the young face smiling at her from far away. As soon as she swiped to the right, she dived into the fantasy together with the fairy and found herself next to the young face. As adventurous as the faraway seemed first, it became incredibly monotonous with time. The old summit was followed by the bridge over the Golden Gate, the Great George, the river falls, and so on. At some point, boredom took over and Tindra surfaced with the fairy from the fantasy. Second match. Tindra decided to wish for something else. She wished for someone who would make her forget all those hopeless nights she had spent. In front of her, fantasies opened up again. Tindra knew how to guide her hand more and more precisely. But she had the feeling what the fairy was carrying her hand with her. The more I know about you, the better I can help you. Tindra swiped twice to the left and once to the right and wondered how much the fairy probably already knew about her. I can't tell you exactly how deep I'm learning. You wouldn't understand it anyway. Tindra swiped to the right again. Only now a match occurred. Together with the fairy, she dived into the fantasy and found herself in the arms of a slightly fragile person who laughed gently. In the beginning, she thought she was falling in love, but after a while she realized that she could never forget the first one's no. Deeply sad, Tindra emerged with the fairy from the fantasy, and knowing that her time had come, the fairy grinned. Tindra now wanted to look at as many fantasies as possible within a very short time. She got into a real frenzy. She swiped through the fantasies at breakneck speed. The control over her hand, her life, and her movements were now in control of the fairy. Third match. When Tindra in the third match extensively immersed in sexual explorations, the fairy registered the flow of information in her body. And not only her body, but also the body of the other was not safe from the fairy. Fourth match. When Tindra's fourth match died unexpectedly, the fairy counted her blinkers until she got over it. From the number of blinkers, she derived all kinds of information about Tindra. 5th match. When Tindra didn't stop dreaming with her 5th match, the fairy had a hard time following. This enraged the fairy. On the next match, we are wasting our time here. With this, Tindra had dreamed it all out and emerged sorrowfully from the fantasies she had immersed herself in. 6th match. The fairy literally pushed Tindra into the next fantasy, and as soon as they had arrived there, she tore Tindra backwards out of it again. She knew everything about her now. The 7th match was to be the perfect match. Tindra realized that the fairy had a different understanding of the perfect match than she did. She would have to live happily ever after, but without dreams. 7th match. Tindra took heart. She did not want to lose her dreams. If her 7th and last wish were only strong enough, the fairy would have to follow it. She looked at the water and paused for a moment. Then she formulated her deepest wish. Bioluminescence is what I'm looking for in someone. A wish immediately opened up from which it spoke. Bioluminescence is usually sent out so that one animal finds the other. But when you shine, you are also more easily found by predators. So the decision to shine is always between love and death. Have you ever seen fluorescent plankton? The fairy had never heard such words before and was so moved that her calculated grimace dissolved. Tindra walked further along the riverbank. From the depth of the water it shone brightly.